These are some of the wildest and most fascinating stories from the Joe Rogan podcast that you can watch to fall asleep. From near-death experiences and alien encounters to ghost sightings and unsolved mysteries, things are about to get crazy. Bob Lazar's Alien Stories. Bob Lazar is seriously one of the most fascinating guys when it comes to UFOs and extraterrestrials. He's the guy who claims to have worked at a secret government base called S4, where he supposedly helped reverse engineer alien technology. He shares details that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about aliens.
Now, believe it or not, I'm not into UFOs. I don't follow stories or,
Even after your experiences?
No, I'm fascinated with the technology, and it irks me like every night I go to sleep that, that it was my own doing, essentially, that prevented me from continuing on in the project. I mean, that to be on that cutting edge of technology is so alluring to me.
Right.
But, by the same token, I don't really care that there's aliens or where they come from. I mean, the prize is the technology, and that's what I'm fascinated by. But so I don't listen to UFO stories and that sort of thing. But George Knapp is, he's the guy that has the contacts and tries to thread everything together. And what he recently told me is he found, I don't know, it was either documentation or people that he spoke to. It's that the existence of this project, the project that I was on, it's something that they seem to take out every 8 or 10 years.
So that's a very specific memo, and this is actually, this is the first time I'll be very clear with people about it. It's a big topic of conversation right now. It's called the Wilson Memo. You can look it up. Admiral Wilson met with a scientist who's actually was featured in one of my films. Everybody has been debating whether or not this document of a conversation with a sitting admiral at the time is a real document. It's an actual conversation that happened, and this document is real. Everybody wants to know. The world is going crazy right now in the UFO world. I'll tell you straight up right now, I'm in the position to know, and it is a real document, that it is real. So the conversation you read in that conversation was had. I can't attest to every...
You're not being very clear.
Sure.
Please.
No problem. So there was a document that is circulating right now that is really big. It's going around everywhere. People are asking and wondering.
What is this document?
It's called the Wilson Memo, is how you can find it online. Or the Wilson Leak.
There it is. Jimmy's got it. The Wilson Memorandum. Use of human volunteers.
No.
Sure that was it, yeah.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Admiral Wilson meets with this scientist, and they have this discussion, oddly enough, at special projects at EG&G. And if I remember, the document is from 2001. I'm telling everybody right now, it's real. And we'll see. My history is pretty good with saying if something's real or not, right? So here we go. The document comes out. They meet at EG&G Special Projects. In 1989, they stumble into a problem. This happens. They put the technology away, and then they bring it back out and see if material science has caught up and if they can make any progress. So this document kind of talks about this process. The big thing I get from it, and a lot of it's vindicating to Bob, and one of the things that's vindicating, besides the EG&G thing, is that private industry, so this guy's an admiral, and he says, I found out about your SAP, your Special Access Program. I need to know about it. And he's going to a private part of industry, and he is denied access. And he says, I should be running this program. And they were able to deny him access. So I think the takeaway here is, check it out. I'm telling you that is an actual correct, that is a leak. Now, everything said in that document, I don't know.
What are you talking about? What is said in that document specifically?
It's between a scientist and an admiral that are sitting, and they're having a meeting, and they're talking about the search for the UFO subject, the search to get Special Access Program access to all of these different things, like reverse engineering programs. So in this document, they talk about it. I believe that this document, the person that went was employed by Robert Bigelow, one of the guys that has a couple of orbiting satellites and all that stuff.
He's the guy who owns Skinwalker Ranch.
No, he's not. No? He was the guy that owned Skinwalker.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to own it. There's a new owner, and I interviewed him for my other film, but there's a new owner, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that soon. But there's stuff that you'll be hearing about Skinwalker Ranch soon because there's a new owner. anyway, the whole point of this insertion here is just that document kind of validates a lot of this idea Bob just said, that they make a little progress, then they can't go anywhere, they tuck it away, and then they bring it back out 10 years later and start working on it. What is the limiting factor? I think Bob should speak on this, but it's the material science.
Yeah, it's really where physics is. So I can see them doing that. I mean, I didn't have any information on that, but I think what George uncovered is probably accurate. That we try and do what we can, and once we reach a roadblock, going, we really can't figure it out. It's just friggin' put the thing away, wait for science to catch up, and a decade later, let's take the project out again and see, all right, now where can we go?
But there's got to be someone who remains informed, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got your scientists like you and Barry. You got your people that you compartmentalize. You got these people working on this
there
project.
has to be some people
Right.
that know everything.
You've got security, and then someone's going to be on the outside saying, hey, we need people to guard this building. Don't let anybody in for 10 years.
I think a lot of that is private industry, and I think that's how
Really?
they keep it. Yeah, I think that's how they because the government is just so leaky. I think that's kind of what they're doing.
That's what the document kind of proves. You just articulated that it is in control of private industry.
What private industry? Some aerospace company? Something?
I don't know.
Yeah, the admiral wouldn't name it in the car,
Right.
in the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So they still have these things, supposedly.
I would guess. I mean, I don't have any information on that.
Have you
at all.
ever asked anyone that has any inkling of any idea of where they got them or how they got them?
No, but something must have been said to me from Barry, but it was just too long ago, and I can't quite remember what was said, but it just left a seed in my mind. I think at least one of them was part of an archaeological dig. So it's old. At least one of them is old. I don't know if it was the one I worked on, but I remember something to do with an archaeological dig.
Whoa.
So that means it's not just old, it's ancient.
That'd be a great Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
Right?
As all of it would, yeah.
Yeah.
That tripped me
that's
out when he said that for the first time.
Yeah. That's a freak out right
Yeah.
there. Just a couple of dudes with some brushes looking for a Tyrannosaurus Rex bone. They
And-
hit metal.
And when did they find it? that they have 9 of them.
Yeah.
Well, and how could we have not heard about that? What about the guys with the brushes? How could
Yeah.
you uncover something like that? And
Well, Joe's newspaper at home does. I mean, they said it on that first day.
Oh, you mean the Roswell
Yeah,
Daily
yeah,
record?
the one you told me. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a cover. What is this here, Jamie?
This is the document, but I had to do some digging to find it.
Yes, it's just kind of. Yeah, so this is where they meet at EG&G, and this is Admiral Wilson, and there's a lot more coming out. Now, I want to be clear, George didn't put this out. He didn't leak this out to anybody. This is, I can tell you how
Who recorded this conversation?
So this was an employee of, at the time, Robert Bigelow.
And this is in 2002?
Right. Do you remember when he had that government contract called OSAP, the world all knows about now, and he had NIDS that studied the ranch? So that $22 million, everybody is saying it was for ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The $22 million was for OSAP that was pushed through Congress, 3 congressmen, right, an astronaut. It was pushed through. And that's what that $22 million, by the way, they spend more money on Viagra every year than they do studying UFOs, if it was just this program, which I think is funny.
They probably
In the
make a lot
military?
more money from Viagra
They
than
probably do.
from UFOs, too.
Well, you never know how it seeds into population. But anyway, this program, this is what was the mother program. So it got the $22 million. And really, it was to study Skinwalker Ranch. Oddly enough, that $22 million all was inspired by the phenomenon they were seeing at Skinwalker Ranch. Because the scientists, they're seeing vehicles come through like a space in the sky.
Yeah, we went there. I went there
Right,
with Duncan.
yeah,
we interviewed a bunch of people that seemed full of shit, but a couple that didn't.
But
It was
the-
very, very interesting.
Totally. And if you look, I spent a lot of time in the area. I'm not talking about those stories. I'm saying there were scientists hired by the government, right, through Bigelow to study the ranch because they thought it was important. And, whatever. The point is that $22 million was to study that. Then we have ATIP, which is like an auxiliary kind of program of military sightings, like Commander Fravers and that sort of thing. This document is just one of those things that has now come forward that through the Bigelow studies, it was government funded, and then it was personally funded and then government funded. It's just one of those things that kind of shakes you because you got this military guy who can't get access because of the private industry that's holding these non-terrestrial materials, that they can't study it. So that's the claim right now. Give it some time, let people dig more into this.
It gets even more fascinating when Bob shares the time he actually stepped inside an alien spacecraft and gave an incredibly detailed description of it.
I did get a chance to look inside the craft on only one occasion, and this was important because where the reactor sat might have been critical to how it operated, since everything operates without any interconnection, so the placement of components might be critical. So they allowed me to go inside and look at it. Again, I forgot where the hell I am.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's a very ominous feeling because there are no, first of all, everything is one color. It's like a dark pewter color, and there are no right angles anywhere. It's as if somebody took, I've said this before, somebody took a model and fashioned it out of wax and then heated it just for a short time so everything melted. Everything looks like it's fused together. Everything has a radius of curvature where two items meet. It's a really weird looking thing. But there was almost nothing other than a small foldable hatchway that looked recognizable. Everything was really unworldly, to pick on it, a way to describe it.
So you get inside this thing, and it's designed for something that's much smaller than a human being.
Yeah, you can't really stand up till you get to the very center of it.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
And what do you think this was designed for?
I'd say something close to half my height.
Wow. So these little 3-foot tallish creatures.
Yeah, and the seats were small too. I mean, obviously it was made, for something small. But there is no, there's nothing else in there. There's just seats, the reactor, and some of the subcomponents. There's no control panels. There's no bathroom. There's no decorative components or artwork or anything that you would recognize or trim. I mean, it's just a very bare bones thing.
You're not seeing any screens?
Well, there are archways around it that are part of the superstructure, and one of the archways can become transparent. When I was in there was another group working on one of the archways, and you could call that a screen, more or less.
So through that archway, it would maintain the solidity, the solid, whatever metal it was.
Yeah,
but you could see through
it just became transparent. Yeah, I saw that happen once or twice before I left.
Did you ask any questions about what the fuck?
No,
that
there's
was?
no asking.
There's
questions.
no asking questions.
No.
But when you watch something become transparent, and you realize it's still there, but you can now see through it.
Yeah, I mean, now that's not that impressive. We do have some liquid crystal materials that are like that. They have
I've seen that in bathrooms.
Smart glass. Yeah, they call it smart glass. So this is just, and I don't know if the craft is made of, an advanced metal or a ceramic. It was cold to the touch, so I would lean more towards a metal.
And when you see this craft and you're inside, was there any indication that there was an area that they would use to control it, to pilot it? Was there a pilot seat? There
were 3 seats. They sat around, the reactor was in the dead center of it, and then equidistant around there were 3 seats. And that's all. There was a large, they're not consoles, they're large rectangular objects, also spaced, equidistant around the center. There's nothing on them. There's no buttons. There's no lights. There's no controls.
Look the same color, the same
Everything
thing.
is the same
it's
color.
Just a different shape.
Right. And directly underneath them, there's 3 levels in the craft. The main level is what we're talking about. Directly under that, those are the gravity amplifiers, the big rectangular objects. Underneath them are the gravity emitters that look like, for lack of a better word, a trash can hanging on a pipe. 3 of those. And then the top layer, this is just my personal belief, I think that has to do with a navigation or their version of a computer with some planar panels, sensor panels around the craft that we would call portholes, but they're not portholes. They're just black areas. And I think that just determines its, position in space. But I physically was in the center section, and I stuck my torso in the bottom section and hung upside down so I could see how the gravity amplifiers were positioned.
What is the roughly the size of this thing?
It's I don't remember from being there, but after all this stuff was over, I had John Andrews, a guy from the Testers Model Corporation, and we sat down and tried to figure out from what I saw and known sizes of things, and we came up with 52 feet in diameter. And
So
I think that's
fairly small.
Yeah, so I think that's a reasonable guess.
Now, you said there's 9 of them, and you got a brief glimpse at the other ones. How are they different?
Oh, they looked completely different. One looked like I called a Jell-O mold, and it looked like a classic Jell-O mold with the rippled sides to it. One was a very flat disc, like like a straw hat or something like that. That was sitting up on its edge, and the thin part of it looked like a projectile had been fired through the edge of it. So I don't know if they were attempting to see if the metal could be penetrated, or if that's where the thing came from. Maybe it was shot down. But that was the only...
Tales from a Ghost Hunter. Let's explore some spooky and hair-raising stories and listen to what a professional ghost hunter has to share about his encounters and the genuinely frightening events he's witnessed.
Are you a big ghost guy?
I believe it's possible.
I'm obsessed.
Are you?
So really weird side hobby of mine, I go ghost hunting. I've been around the world.
Wow.
Yeah. It's incredible.
What have you experienced? Have you ever had an absolute moment when you're like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of a poltergeist?
Still not 1,000%. I've definitely witnessed things that I cannot for the life of me explain that have creeped me out. The timing has been impeccable. I've seen things move that there's just no fucking way that they've moved. I've gotten answers back on EVPs, but for me, it is one of those things I do need to see it.
Isn't an EVP like a radio, though?
No, EVP is just a recorder.
It's a recorder. What's that radio thing? I'm sorry, then. What is the one where they listen?
There's a bunch of different names.
My daughter's heavily into this shit.
What does she watch?
Heavily. Sam and Colby.
You had them on, right?
Yes.
So
Great guys.
So I met these other guys. There's another channel called the Overnight Channel who are equally as popular as Sam and Colby, and they actually used to work together. Then I believe they split off and each do their own thing. But that's who I started going with, so I'm very familiar with those guys.
So these kids, the Sam and Colby guys, just went into the Conjuring house.
I was just there, maybe a month and a half ago.
You went into the Conjuring house
by
too?
myself, Joe.
Okay. Do you believe that there's something going on in that house? The Conjuring movies are fucking great.
It's my favorite franchise.
They're fun. And there's so many of them. They really did it right. If you want to be smart, they branched off with The Nun. They branched off with Annabelle.
And I love the way they tie in the story for each one to make it all one chronological story. It's genius.
Yeah.
I will say I wasn't as scared as I've been in a lot of places we've been. There is some kind of solace to the house. But you get to know the history of it, and it does make sense that there would be something here. I mean, it's on some ley lines of water underground. There was war spot there. There's apparently bodies buried on the property in the walls of the property structures and stuff. There's a lot of history that goes into it that just makes for kind of the perfect storm for some creepy shit. But I didn't witness anything that was that insane. Some items moved. Some cars rolled off of the children's dressers a couple of times on cue. And that's the one thing I do pride ourselves in these videos is so often we get absolutely nothing because we don't fake anything. So you only get to see the highlights. There's so many times we'll go to a place that is so notoriously haunted and we'll be there for 10 hours and get absolutely nothing. And it sucks. But that makes when something does happen that much more valuable. It's so much more impressive.
What do you think? So do you think a ghost is like the soul of a person that's left behind? Or do you think the ghost is almost like space and time because of a horrible incident contain a memory? And that memory is almost like it shows up in current time sometimes. There's a guy named Rupert Sheldrake. I forget what his field of study is, but he had this theory about things, and he believes that objects contain memories.
Oh, interesting.
And he's not the only one that has
Inanimate
this.
objects?
Yeah, that things contain memories. And this is one of the reasons why, like, people kind of universally support this idea that if someone was murdered in a house, you must inform the people that are about to buy it. You have to tell them, hey, somebody got murdered in this house. Like, maybe you don't want to buy this house.
Now,
maybe you should think about it.
Does the potential owner have to ask that information?
It's a good question.
I'd want to know.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think they should have to inform you, because there's something about someone being murdered in a spot that freaks us out. And this is my question. How you knew the conjured house was haunted, right? So you go there with this feeling and this expectation. That's what I always wonder about these things. Like, how much of this isn't just imagining things. This is like the mind itself seems to have some unmeasured effect on the world.
Yeah.
I think the way you think has an unmeasured effect in terms of, like, this. There's energy that you put out. There's connections you make with people. They're very, very unmeasured.
And you can manifest your own perception of things, for sure.
Yeah. So what my concern is like, if you go into a place with a pre-existing knowledge of ghosts, like you think ghosts are here, you think ghosts are real, you have this thought in your mind that you maybe experience a ghost in this place that's haunted. You're at this elevated level of anticipation. You're probably really nervous and kind of freaked out, and your imagination starts firing up. And I'm not even saying that these people are lying or that they're seeing things that aren't there. I'm saying maybe you make things show up. Maybe you see memories. Maybe you experience some horrible energy that existed in this spot 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that there's, like, ways you can tune into that.
I could see that being possible, but to me, that's what's so exciting about it is, like, you go hoping for those solidified answers. You're going hoping to witness something that you couldn't have possibly made up.
But you know why I think that, too? Is, like, you never see them in the daytime. Ghosts don't exist on the street.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but not outside.
They're never outside. That's a very good point.
That's my point, is, like, you're always trapped. So you're always in this, like, weird space. Like, if you had a wolf in your house, you'd be freaked out. You'd want to get outside.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want a wolf in the it's a fucking wolf in the house.
Yeah.
Anytime you're in a contained area, your brain has this heightened sense of, like, being trapped and awareness and how to escape. I mean, every horror movie's the same. When you got to get to the door, right? Everybody's trying to fumble with the keys, and the monster's chasing them, and they get it just in time, right? That is a reoccurring theme in the human mind. If you're trapped in a fucking house with a killer or a ghost or a wolf, it's scary.
You know where that makes the most sense? We did the USS Hornet up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And we had the whole ship to ourselves, which I was so excited about because I love military stuff. I love history. I was so excited to go there and just witness it. And they sent me by myself on basically a game of hide and seek where I had to go find them in the ship somewhere after I had to count to 100 by myself. It was the most terrifying place I've ever been because if you've never been in, like, the bowel of a ship, it's so unfamiliar. Like, doorways don't look the same. You have to step over them and everything. There's so many pipes and everything sticking out. It's such an unfamiliar environment, especially in the dark. It's terrifying. You think, I can't possibly run away from something in here. There's too many obstacles. You don't know if that's a wall or a pipe or something peeking around to, like, look at you. It's fucking terrifying.
Near-death experiences. What started as a calm day at the beach in Hawaii quickly turned intense. They rented a Jeep, followed a tip from a local, and ended up somewhere tourists rarely venture. But what was meant to be a peaceful swim turned into a fight for survival. One wrong step into the ocean, and things got seriously dangerous.
I've had multiple ocean scares now. Like the ones where you're like
crying on the beach.
Well,
no,
just
why.
that, like, in the moment,
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, you know? And one I remember was in Hawaii where we rented a Jeep and we were like, we want to go see something, you know? So they tell you, oh, take this road. And it takes you to this single road that goes up where there used to be volcanoes. And we come up on this beach. And they had mentioned the beach, but not really too much about it. And so when we parked, I was like, I love the ocean water. I'm going to get in the ocean, you know? So I get in the ocean, and I remember that going in, the beach into the water was a decline, right? So, like, you go down. And I was just, like, knee deep in there about to, and I was like, man, this current is pulling back hard, like really hard. And I kind of take, like, a step back, and I feel myself going further down a decline into the ocean, right? And when I decide to get out, I have to really push hard, like all legs, like boom, boom, like run, like you're running up a hill to get out. And I was like, that was fucking.
If a wave hit you there,
that was
kind of.
That was
There was
kind
a guy who was a WWE
Damn.
wrestler.
They tell me though when I get back to the hotel, I go, yeah, we took. I go that beach was a little scary. They go, did you get in the water? And I go, yeah. And they go, oh, you can't get in that water. Like, you'll drown in that water. Did you notice there was nobody swimming there? I go, yeah, I noticed.
I thought it was
But I thought I found a fucking,
Oasis.
you know. And
They
they're
don't
like,
tell you?
They didn't tell me. They're like, do not swim in that water. They're like, you can't swim out of that. If you would, like, they're like, if you had swam 10 feet in, they're like, you're just gone.
Oh
What?
my god!
And like the panic you feel, especially in retrospect, because you remember the feeling of being like, I think I'm stuck here. You know, I think I'm stuck right now.
Fitzsimmons saved a lady in Thailand.
Really?
What?
Yeah, someone was drowning, and Fitzsimmons swam out and saved them.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Thailand, somewhere crazy like that. Yeah, he was on vacation. I might have made up Thailand.
It doesn't sound like a place Fitzsimmons
when I
would
said
go.
Thailand. No, he would go. He's a world traveler.
No, he's a Hawaii guy. He surfs in Hawaii.
Wherever it was. Fitzsimmons went in the ocean and saved a lady.
No shit.
Yeah.
I saw my dad save a lady.
That's a scary
in a
thing.
resort. It was at the bottom of the pool. She was just laying at the bottom of the pool.
Oh my god!
When I was like 9 years old, it was like father son. He took me to this resort, and there's a slide. You ever go on a slide where the water that comes off the slide, that like, so in other words, like when you hit the water, it's like high impact. You're like,
Yes.
holy shit, and it pushes you down. I'm 9 years old, so this is many years ago, and I remember like I could swim. I was on a swim team like as a little kid, but I remember being like, fuck, that is powerful. Like it pushes you down, right? And you just swim up, and people are, you know, at the resort, and then look down, and my dad swims to the bottom of the pool and pulls up this lifeless body, and then they do CPR, and she came back.
Shut up.
Yeah, and they would write letters to our house for years.
Really?
She was 19.
Oh my god!
She wasn't a little kid.
Did you see the guy,
Oh my god!
the snowboarder upside down when the random skier comes by?
Yes.
Just sees a
Yes.
snowboard sticking this far out of the snow.
Yeah.
Is this the
with
one
2
where
feet.
And the guy was buried under the
Yeah.
snow.
He goes, "What the fuck?" He stops. Goes
He
up
saved
there.
the guy's life randomly.
Is this separate? Have you seen the footage where the guy's wearing the GoPro?
I've seen that.
Right, and then he's like,
falls
fuck,
into the ditch.
into like a hole.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that is visceral. That feeling.
Oh my
You're like,
god!
And then he's just like, "We'll see what happens."
Obviously, he got out because there's footage.
Yeah.
But when you're watching that, you're like, "Oh my god, you could just fall in there forever." And apparently, that's something that happens.
Tree wells.
That's something that happens. So this
Oh.
guy just falls, and then watch this.
bro.
What?
I know Bert's feeling this.
No, I've had
Dude.
a couple experiences like this.
He manages to stop himself.
Yeah.
What
Bro.
the fuck? How the
Bro.
fuck do you get out of that?
How the fuck do you get out of that?
Fuck the skis.
How did he get out of that?
It's over, Joe.
But no, he's
No,
out.
no. They had to. I think I've read about this. They had to get search and rescue. He had to hang out down there for a while. Search and rescue had to come up and
Holy
I'm thinking
shit,
of getting
he's
one of those
so
GPS
lucky.
trackers
And do you
for
see
sure.
though?
He's
how
so lucky that he
kept-
stopped right there.
But the way he right here, he's not flailing. He's
Yeah.
like putting his arm and his ski out to try to like. So this guy was able to keep some composure as this was happening, which
would've
is like
bombed it.
kind of the craziest part.
oh my god! So this is the snowboarder that's buried upside down. So this guy
No.
just sees that little blue piece,
bro.
just
This
randomly.
this happened to me.
Skied right over him.
Yeah, he easily
Happened
could have
to take
missed that.
Yeah, could have gone
Dude.
the other way.
There's not much blue.
Soft snow. He's in a tree well, is what it is.
Yeah.
So the tree wells, it's really soft snow. So if you get stuck in a tree well, you are fucking dead. A lot of people die in tree wells.
God damn.
Yeah, I'm thinking of getting one of those GPS things.
So
Neil says
when
he has one.
we went snowboarding in Matterhorn,
Yeah.
heli skiing, and the guy put a beacon on us. And the first thing he said, he puts a beacon. It's like 4 feet of powder, and he says, "This is so we can find the body." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "You
Oh,
might
this
fall
is
into a crevasse or an avalanche, so we put the beacon on to find the body."
Whoa.
That feeling, this happened to me, that feeling is terrifying.
This guy's like, thank you.
Good. We'll get you out of here in a sec, okay?
He was
panic.
dead.
The panic.
He knew he was
I'm
dead,
feeling
too.
panic watching
The
this.
He knew
panic.
he
So
was
what
dead.
happens is, like what happened to me when we were heli-skiing, is I fell face forward in powder. I'd never, snowboarding in powder, 4 feet of powder is very different than snowboarding. It's like you have to have your bindings reset. You have to really know how to ride the powder. And I could not turn right. And the guy told me, he's like, don't go within 5 feet of my tracks. Stay within my tracks.
Oh.
So the whole time, I can only turn left. Because at the time, I really wasn't that good of a snowboarder. But I could snowboard, but not in powder. And so he's going like this, and all I can do is go left, and I'm just going off the track.
Oh, no.
And I'm fucking panicking. But by the way, we're at like 13,000 feet, 14,000 feet. It's very little oxygen. I'm gassed. I'm fat. I'm hungover. It's the day after the national championship that we went to. So we'd eaten edibles. It was
the
like
day after that?
It was the day after that. I flew to Switzerland and immediately landed and went heli-skiing.
I don't remember that.
And so no. When we went to Florida State versus Alabama,
2013.
Yeah, 2013. So all of a sudden I go to cut right, and I catch my nose, and I fucking go face first in the snow. And at first I'm like, fine. I push my arms in, and they just do not touch anything. It just goes like this. And now snow's impacted on my face, so I can't really breathe. And I'm first of all, I deal with panic, but panic kicks in immediately, and I'm like, this is why I have the fucking beacon on. And so I try to clear the snow out of my face, but I'm like pulling all the muscles in my back, trying to turn over. And then the guy just comes up behind me, grabs me on the back, flips me over, and he goes, "You should see your sound guy." My sound guy's upside down